Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. Now, a lot of players have been trying to cook up a really interesting grass-type archetype to really try and combat Charizard EX, which has been plaguing the online scene and definitely some cups and challenges. So players are kind of thinking, it's finally time for Meowscarada to shine. So I thought I would cover the deck. I'm going to talk to you exactly why the deck potentially could be a good answer to Charizard EX, look at its matchups as well, and of course, the deck list that I've kind of cooked up with. Now, obviously, I have talked about some grass types in the past with Spider's Leafeon, which I posted way back before Scarlet and Violet was actually released, which I will link description below if you're really intrigued to check that video out. But I want to talk about Meowscarada. Is it finally time to shine? So Meowscarada is a really interesting card. It has a really good ability which lets you discard a grass energy, and if you do, put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And Scratching Nails for 2 color energies, 100 damage. If you hit any damage counters on it, just 120 more damage. For DTE, 200 damage for 2 energies is still pretty good. Multiple bench sniping damage capability is really powerful. And it's trying to counter Charizard EX, trying to kind of overcome that because it does hit for weakness and instantly can take over Charizard, which is really powerful. Spraying damage to those big setup attacks is really powerful and can really utilize some strong abilities. Like so Pidgeot, Bibarel, and Arceus really fit in nicely with Meowscarada EX. So let's jump into the deck itself and talk to exactly what each card really means and how it all ticks. So we play a 4-1-2-3 line of Meowscarada EX. The Sprigatito with 70 HP is definitely the one to go with. You're trying to slow down the likes of Sableye, and there's definitely a way to go around that. Florgato is really powerful, doing 50 damage for a double turbo energy, well, technically 30, but you get to your opponent switches their active Pokemon when their bench. Really good destructive card if potentially you have to get that if you go second. But Meowscarada EX, like I mentioned, is definitely the card to play with. Having these 3 of is really good. Potentially, if you have 3 out in play, putting 9 damage counters anywhere you like is super powerful. That's pretty much the whole way of the deck. You want to attack with Meowscarada EX, you want to attack into with Charizard, and really farm those sort of matchups wise. So let's look at the really key support Pokemon we have. We play a 2-2 line of Arceus V-Star. Really powerful attack, doing 200 damage. You're not going to accelerate any energies that way, but 200 damage is still really good. That's kind of how Charizard Arceus deck is kind of playing, by attacking with that 200 damage very early on. But you use that for that Star Birth ability, getting any 2 cards you might potentially need. That could potentially be the grass energy you require, or the rare candy to get in the Pidgeot EX, or the Meowscarada, or get a support card you long need. So I generally think this Arceus Beast is really powerful. I think Arceus is definitely more of a utilizing sort of factor card, kind of like an entry card you might want to have. Lots of decks are utilizing it. Now, like Meowscarada's using it, She and Pow's using it, likes of even obviously Charizard, really making Arceus V-Star more of a really unique sort of search sort of card. But we also play a 2-2 line of Pidgeot EX. Pidgeot EX is really powerful. I really like it in She and Power, but it really fits so nicely in any stage 2 archetype. So check for any card you want to have and put in your hand is super strong. You can use your Arceus V-Star to get the red candy Pidgeot, use the Pidgeot to get the extra rare candy or the Meowscarada you might need to get, and all of a sudden your turn 2 have every single thing set up. Really powerful free retreat, this kind of stadium card, doing attacking for a double turbo is really nice. One more line of Bibarel is definitely really needed in this deck here. Because you're so focused with so many rulebox abilities, kind of having this Bibarel is really nice, because you want to have that out to pass the peak. You don't want to go, oh, I can't draw anything. I can't search anything. Well, I have Bibarel, so now I can search my deck. I could draw a card that I might need, and I think this is exactly what you might need in this deck here. Manaphy is definitely a absolutely needed card in this here. You're seeing so many of these 60 HP, 70 HP Pokemon. Ninja can actually snipe and have a field day in this sort of meta. So that's definitely something to really consider about in this sort of deck here. Manaphy is definitely, you need to have it, even though you need to kind of like fill in the bench space as well. It's really key if you can get this out in that sort of matchup you might require it. And really, Alakazam, moving around the damage count is really good, pretty much moving some of the bench damage to the active spot. So Meowscarada can do that additional 120 damage is really key. Now, you could potentially add like the Yoglu Medicham, but honestly, potentially the space-wise, I couldn't really find anything. You could cut Energy Retrieval for it, but honestly, I really like this deck, how it works right now for Pokemon, but that's definitely something I would potentially include otherwise if you're thinking you're missing it. Item cards, 1 Escape Rope, 1 Super Rod, 1 Spirit Energy Retrieval, 2 Energy Retrievals, 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Rare Candy. This is kind of a really good sort of searching cards as well as you need to have it. Super Rod is really good because you want to like breathe many of your Masquerades if one gets knocked out, or any of your grass energies potentially you might need to have. Superior Energy Retrieval I really like in the deck here. It kind of is what made people think, oh, Masquerade is really good because of Superior Energy Retrieval. It's really powerful because you can kind of get out those 4 grass energies, potentially need to do potentially an additional 2 or 3 snites with Meowscarada X, which is really, really powerful. That's why I played the 2 copies of Energy Retrieval just in general, because instead of getting that discarding effect, you can just use that regular Energy Retrieval to get that energy attachment and potentially then that energy discarding effect with that Bouquet Magic ability. For Nestball, for Ultra Ball, I do like this because you're not really running Battle VIP Pass, so it makes sense to play 4 Nestballs for Ultra Ball. I think Battle VIP Pass would really clunk out the deck. I think Nestball is really good, especially in the late game, try and get any of your potentially an Arky setup or potentially even have a Sprigatito to really help in the game, whereas Battle VIP Pass will not be really that helpful. And obviously you have to play that full red candy because you're playing pretty much a 5/5 stage 2 archetypes. So you want to have multiple ways to get out your pitcher and your Meowscarada as easy as possible. Sports line we play 2 copies of Boss Orders, 3 Ionas, and 4 Chorus's Experiment. A lot of people kind of go, Charlie, why aren't you playing Research? Well, because you're playing so many cards you do not want to discard the likes of your Spirit Energy Retrievals, your Pokemon, and putting your Red Candy. Chorus Experiment is such a good inclusion in this style of decks here. We're seeing the huge success in the likes of Arceus style decks here. We're seeing it in the likes of Charizard decks here, because you don't want to discard, like, get rid of some of your Fire Energies, get rid of your Pokemon attacking, with the likes of Presses Research. Chorus Experiment instantly kind of puts them to hand, and I really like it. You only lose 2 cards and potentially additional your whole hand. Iona, because you want to be destructive as possible, you're potentially going to go behind in prizes quite easily. So Iona is really, really good to really punish your opponent in that sort of state. And Boss's Orders are really good to kind of like boss out their Charizard, boss out their any Pokemon that's quite weak, can easily get some KOs with that one. Metagoza is your stadium of choice in this deck here. 3 of here, flip a coin, if heads, get any Pokemon you might want to acquire. This is really good because you can, Artisan is really good potentially, but to get your basic Pokemon, but Meowscarada gets your Meowscarada, gets your Arceus, gets your Pidgeot, gets your Radiant Alakazam, gets your Bibarel. You get multiple cards with Meowscarada. Yes, it is a coin flip, but who doesn't like coin flips and decks here? I think it's quite fun as well. And obviously, you finish up with the energy cards. We play 4 copies of Double Turbo and 7 Grass Energies. This is pretty much the standard what I've seen on online tournaments, and some people covering Meowscarada EX. It's definitely where people are like fitting in that sort of format. So I generally think it's a really interesting deck here, but how is it doing here? Right now, you can kind of look and go, Charlie, I'm a bit scared. Is it actually any good? The answer is probably not. I think it's okay overall. I think it's fine overall, but here, but we can see some of its positive matchups are Lugia and Sheehan Power is a 50-50. I've seen online here, against Charizard, people who play Meowscarada is 0% because they haven't won a single game. So it's played to counter a deck, and the deck is countering, is winning every single time. That's definitely something you'd be quite concerned about overall. So I generally think some of its negative things, being Lost Box, being Gardevoir, being Mew, being Miraidon, and being Charizard, it's something which isn't exactly super strong. You are pretty okay against in these Arceus style decks here. Your Arc Pile is pretty okay overall, and I would say your Arctina is kind of a bit alright, but decks which play destructive capabilities and decks that play Path to Peak are absolutely killing this style archetype. I think it's still pretty fun to play. Definitely play in some locals. You're going to a League Challenge or League Cup. It's going to be a really fun archetype to try out, but definitely be prepared that it's not as favorable as possible. Someone actually played Meowscarada at the League Challenge I went to a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately I won against them. They didn't do too well, purely because it's fun to kind of like, yes, it's really good to try and like figure out. You can answer Charizard, but in a format where no one's really playing Charizard, it can really fall behind quite a lot. But overall, I generally think it's quite a fun archetype. If you are worried about certain matchups, definitely try and like fit in a Medicham V. I think Medicham V can really help in that sort of matchup as well. The Radiant Alakazam, the Bench Knight with Magic Bouquet, and having that Medicham V can really help in that style deck here. I do think this deck is quite a fun archetype. Try and play it online tournament. We haven't seen any big results in the from Japan, obviously from the US as well. So once we get those regionals out in just a couple of days' time, it's going to be really exciting to see exactly how the format is evolving in the Obsidian Flames and meta. So is Meowscarada going to be the answer for Charizard? Probably not. Maybe the Spidos Leafeon build, which I created a couple months ago, might actually be that play here. And like I said, link to that is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what grass deck do you think will actually see success in trying to conquer the really big plaguing archetype where it's Charizard EX. Is it superior? Is it Meowscarada? Is it Spidos? Is it Leafeon? Or is it something completely different? Or is it Shaman? Comment down below, and I'm really intrigued to see exactly what people think about it. Again, my name is TCG, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye for now.